So contouring is number one for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm surprised more people want to learn about like color and shimmer than eyebrows. So I haven't talked too much about color and shimmer in the past. I'm very excited to get more into that today, but thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah. And we got a sweet comment in the chat too. I'd also love to know more makeup tips for mask folks while wearing a mask too. So like, that's
Yes,
your specialty. So
I mean,
yeah.
that's what I'm known for.
Right. Okay, you want
Yes,
me to share the screen?
yes, please.
Cool.
All right. So this is just our transgender agenda for today. I will definitely still be going through all the sections that are listed out, but I will just spend a little bit more time on contouring as well as like the fun color shimmer stuff towards the end. But let's start off with just even the basics, then we'll go into eyebrows a little bit, then the big meaty part, contouring, as well as how to make your makeup last. So let's check out what do we need to get started. So some people think of makeup and they don't consider skincare. That is gonna be so important when it comes to how well your makeup stays on your face. And also, your face is literally the base for your makeup. If you have really dry, flaky skin and you put makeup on top of that, you will not be happy with results because that makeup is gonna be absorbed by all your dry skin. Any texture that is already there in your skin is gonna show through the makeup as well because makeup is color. Makeup can help a little bit with texture, but you definitely want to at least put on a basic moisturizer, maybe an eye cream before you start your makeup. And then lip balm is nice to do, especially if you plan on using any lip products. But these are honestly non-negotiable. No good makeup artist would ever put makeup on somebody's face without first tending to the skin. And then tools. You don't need anything fancy. It's really good to just learn the difference between what different tools can do and which ones make the most sense for you, though. So you might see like loose, fluffy brushes, for example. These are pretty common, right? They're a little bigger. The bristles are more spaced apart. And these are meant for powder. If you try to use this for a liquid or cream product like a foundation, you could, but it's just not the best tool for that. But when you get something that is more dense and has shorter brushes, these are great for liquids and creams, not so much for powders. You might also see stuff like beauty blenders or beauty sponges. They come in a lot of kind of shapes and sizes and different brands, but sponges are good if you don't want your makeup to build up too much on the face. If you don't need a lot of coverage, when you use a makeup sponge, you wet it first, squeeze out all the water, and then you use that to kind of pat on your cream and liquids. It makes sure that you're putting on less products basically, since it's picking it up every time you bounce it. And fingers, they're free. You got them. You can use them. It's not bad to use your fingers for makeup, but again, like all these different tools will have their own role depending on the kind of look you want and also your own preferences. And then I just want to see, okay, somebody commented, when you say eye cream, is it the kind that goes under the eye or the eyelid? Most eye creams are only meant for under the eyes. If it is meant to be applied all around, so 360 application or even on top of the eyelid itself, it will say that for the product description, but not all of them are meant to because they can migrate and kind of go into your eyeballs. So yeah, they're a little bit different, but eye cream usually underneath is just fine. If you have very dry eyelids, you might want to look for an eye cream that can be used on that area as well. All right. And then the last part is this is just some like the types of products. So I mentioned liquids, creams, and powders. It's just good to know that there are different options. And if you're like, which one do I choose? A lot of it has to do with your skin type. If you're oily and you want to wear foundation, for example, you definitely want to go for something that's liquid because that'll be easy to spread and get a thin application of, but then it kind of sets down and dries down on the skin. A cream stays hydrating usually, unless it's mentioned to have a more matte finish or shine-free finish. And then of course there are powders as well. Everyone can use powders, but some powders are more drying than others. So if you have very dry skin, if you have flaky skin, some powders can kind of emphasize that texture. But usually it's good to have a couple different textures, and then you layer them from liquids and creams first, and then you set it and seal it all with a powder. And then we can go to the next slide just for some recommendations on what you can use to prep your skin before makeup. We will be sending out resources from this workshop today, so you can take a picture of this if you want, if you really want to see these product recommendations, but I can also send a list with links so you can look more into those. But on the left side of this page here, I've basically curated a little skincare and prepping routine for makeup, more for oily to normal skin types. We have a milky toner, which is kind of like a thick serum that's not oily, an oil-free moisturizer to put on top of that. And then sunscreen is a must. Unless you're not going outside, then it's fine. But a sunscreen is great to wear under your makeup as well. And then that little bottle there, that is actually a primer that keeps your skin oil-free. So it kind of absorbs oil as you put makeup on top and as your skin releases more oil throughout the day. On the right side, it's going to be great for people with normal to dry skin. So if you feel like your skin is very parched, whatever you put on it kind of gets sucked up, no matter how much you put, it's really good to incorporate a serum that's very hydrating, like this pink one from Glow Recipe, and then the yellow and white bottle, that's a sunscreen that's very hydrating. You can use that as your moisturizer as well, but you can also add in like a Cetaphil moisturizer, something very, very moisturizing before your makeup, because makeup can sometimes dry your skin out as you wear it. And then that longer tube, that is another primer, but this kind of primer is going to be nice and thin, but very, very hydrating. It makes your skin just look like it is so glowy, which is great so that your makeup glides on. All right, and then what's after that? This is just kind of like an example product list for makeup products. If you aren't sure what you need exactly, you don't need every single one of these. If you want to start with learning how to do your brows, you're going to need an eyebrow pencil or a tinted eyebrow gel, which sometimes is called a brow mascara, or you can even get a brow pen, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's kind of like an eyeliner, but for your brows. If you want to do contouring, you're going to want either a cream contour if you have drier skin maybe, or if you feel like that's easier for you. Powder contour is great to set your cream products with, but you can also use like a translucent powder, something setting that will have no color to it if you choose to go the cream route. And later I will talk about the differences between a contour and a bronzer, so don't you worry. And as for the tools for application, face and eye brushes or beauty sponges, like I talked about earlier. Makeup remover, great to have on hand. So if you mess up, don't freak out. Don't freak out. Makeup comes off. You just need some Q-tips. You need some cotton pads. And it's like the mistake never happened. I do it all the time. And all the other products on the last point here, foundation, concealer, translucent face powder, a blush, and a lip color. These are not necessary for everybody, but these are definitely good to have on hand, especially if you want to learn how to do a full look. If you're going to be going out, or if you're doing cosplay, or if you're taking pictures, you'll just notice that having a full face of makeup will look more natural than only putting like concealer on certain areas with maybe a little bit of contour. But that can, it's all preference. All right. And then the next slide, please. These are just some examples of brushes. These are a couple links to a website that explains the differences between different brushes. What do I do with ones of this shape or this material or, this size? And for anybody who has limited mobility in your hands, there are actually makeup brushes that are made for you. They will reduce the amount of strain that you have in your wrist. And it's a great way to still be able to do makeup and enjoy it, but not hurt yourself in the process. And let's get into the first makeup portion, the eyebrows. Some of you may or may not know this. I don't have eyebrows, so that's why I did them for you before we came on this call. Otherwise, I would have taken so long to show you. Eyebrows are, okay, if your eyes are the windows to the soul, your eyebrows are the curtains, I guess, or something. Very important. They make a huge difference, especially when it comes to leaning more masculine or feminine. So let's talk about eyebrows. Let's see, how do we know what are the traits we want to look for in a masculine or feminine eyebrow? If we can go to the next slide. Okay, so usually masculine eyebrows, you'll notice they're a little lower on the face. For me, it's easy because I have no eyebrow hairs, so I can draw them wherever I want. But for normal people who do have eyebrows, when you want to masculinize your features, super simple way is to draw them a little lower than where they naturally start. And you also want to aim for a straighter eyebrow as well. In this picture, the masculine side, they are straight for the most of the way until the end. It kind of curves to follow the brow bone and the facial structure. You can play around with that. If you're not sure what kind of shape would work for you, look at your family members. Call up your dad on FaceTime. Be like, Father, let me see those eyebrows, please. Thank you. Use them as a reference. Everybody is gonna find that certain shapes don't work for you, but it's all trial and error. Usually though, straighter is gonna look more masculine. So they can be bushy or uneven. You don't even have to be perfect with masculine eyebrows. Honestly, the messier they are, the more believable it is. The closer they are to the nose bridge, so going a little bit towards the center of your forehead, that also helps a lot, as well as having a similar thickness throughout the entire brow. Because then you compare it to the feminine side where it's a lot more shapely. The arch or the tallest point of the eyebrow is more evident. Usually, feminine eyebrows are clean with less straight hairs. That's not always the case though. They tend to be a little further from the nose bridge, but basically like in line with your tear ducts. They won't really go too much past the tear ducts. And then you'll see the brows will thin out and taper towards the tail a lot more obviously. On the next slide, we can dive a little bit deeper into the technical things. What can you do? Also, feel free to send questions in the chat if anything comes up. If it's on a different section, we'll address it when we get there. But I just know this can be a lot of information. So simple ways you can masculinize your eyebrows. Again, you don't have to do every single step. It's going to be different for everybody, but try it out. Try one thing and see if that makes a big enough difference for you. If not, add on another thing. Do the whole eyebrow shablam if you want the full fantasy. So like how I did, I used a darker shade than my natural brow color because when I do have hair, it's not this dark and it's not this full. You can fill in your arch to kind of straighten out the shape of your brow as well. So on the area where your brow kind of comes up to the arch, the highest point, rather than following that curve, just cut it straight across the arch. So you'll be filling your eyebrow in an area where you might not even have hair, but that is what's going to make that shape more masculine. You could also, of course, fill your eyebrows in thicker if you have thinner brows or if you have lighter hairs, and you can finish it off with using a tinted eyebrow gel. So eyebrow gels will kind of look like mascaras. They'll come with a little brush, a little spoolie, and you just work it into the hair of your brow. I feel like if I would recommend one brow product, it would be an eyebrow gel, because not only can you use it to fill in and make your brows darker and bushier, you can also use that on your little mustache, your little facial hair, bring it out, maybe on your sideburns even. There's a lot of uses for makeup, but I just feel like that one is like the most beginner friendly because you don't have to be precise. And you can use it in more than just one area of your face. But yes, the eyebrows, the way that I did my eyebrows today, it was multi-step, especially because I don't have them naturally. But basically, I used a brow pencil like this one from Anastasia Beverly Hills. Some of them are thin and small. Some of them are going to look a little bit thicker and maybe even have like a triangle kind of shape to them. The smaller ones are just great if you have thinner brows or if you want to be able to draw hair in. But if you want to kind of add like a backdrop for your eyebrows, let's say you have a lot of hair, but you want them to look a little bit darker, then those thicker pencils will do the trick. The brush that comes on the end of your brow product is great if you feel like you drew on your brows a little bit too harsh, the lines are too obvious. You can just go in and gently blend that out. And you could even just use this side if you already have very full brows naturally, just to kind of brush your hairs in place. But I also ended up doing a brow pen on top. So I kind of sketched out this whole shape. But if we just do the shape and we don't emphasize the hairs, it looks a little flat. I used the NYX eyebrow pen, which just looks like a really, really thin eyeliner. And you see how you can do super precise thin lines. I mean, if you press harder, you're going to get a thicker line, of course. But brow pens are different from liners because they're not so opaque. So that way you can draw a lot of hairs and kind of go over each hair. It'll look more realistic to what eyebrows look like, and it'll kind of build up the color that way. So yeah, I love brow pens. If you feel like you have the dexterity to use it, try it out. Try it out. Okay, somebody asked, would you say eyeshadow is a suitable alternative to getting pens as someone who is on a budget and already has eyeshadow? If you have a really tiny, thin brush that you can use with your eyeshadow, that could give you a similar result. I would say eyeshadow is more similar to like brow powders, which already exist, or the effect that you get when you draw on your brow shape. But if you really blend it out and smudge it out, kind of looks like something you could get with eyeshadow. If you already have eyeshadow, but you want to be able to do that kind of like technique I just shared with adding hairs, do a somewhat lighter eyeshadow first to just get that general shape on, but then use, again, a thin brush and a slightly darker eyeshadow. And you can go in with gentle kind of flicking motions to add in the hairs. So you, again, like makeup is great because you don't need every single product in the world. You just need to have creativity. You need to use your imagination and see what you can make happen with what you already have. Could you use a little water with the eyeshadow to make it look like hairs? Yes, I was gonna suggest doing something like that. If you have literally just like a spray bottle, if you have a face mist that you use for skincare, or if you have a setting spray, you can dip your tiny brush in your eyeshadow and then spray it. That way you can get a cleaner line, because eyeshadow is powder. It's going to be very hazy and kind of blend itself out, but that's a way to get more definition. So yes, thank you for bringing that part up. Very, very helpful little tip. So that's eyebrows. If you do have hairs, it's going to be a lot easier for you, honestly. You can get your brows done so quick, especially with that tinted brow gel. Literally just work it into the brow from the front, and then I would do the back end to kind of brush it on all angles of the hair. That way you really buff up the brow, you can give it a lot of body, and it'll stay in place better because there's more product coating the hair from all angles. Sorry, I can't demonstrate that, but hopefully y'all know what I mean when I'm talking about it. Okay. I think we can move on to the next section, the one that is very, very so highly requested. Oh yeah, these are just some of the products. I did mention the pencil. I mentioned the pen. This is an eyebrow palette, like a powder palette, but very similar to eyeshadow, or even if you have a bronzer and contour palette, the shades can potentially work for brows. And then that first one is the eyebrow gel slash mascara with a little brush on the end. Okay, contouring, the hottest topic of the hour. Before we even talk about techniques, it's good to know what the point of contouring really is, and also what's the difference with bronzing. So the contouring, like when you hear contouring, that's not just a makeup term, that's also an art term when it comes to painting or drawing. But contouring is when you enhance the shape and the structure of your face using a cool toned contour product to mimic shadows. When I say cool tone, I'm thinking more like leaning more gray rather than leaning more warm or orangey like a bronzer. And there is a difference. Bronzer can also be used to enhance your face structure, but because it's more warm toned, it also gives you more color to the face and kind of mimics a sun-kissed look, like you've been out without the UV damage. People like to use either contour or either bronzer. You can also use both of them. If I were to recommend which one to go with, if you want to start with just one, I would do bronzer just because with contour alone, again, it's meant to mimic shadows and shadows are more gray, right? It might make your overall makeup look gray. So bronzer, you get that definition. It's a little bit darker than your skin, but it still has enough color to look like it's kind of meant to be there. When it comes to contouring, these are the areas that you can really focus on, and it makes the biggest difference in terms of masculinizing your features. So the brow bone, the inner eye area here, your forehead, along the cheekbone, under your jawline to just accentuate that, and also the sides of your neck. And you can definitely draw in like a fake Adam's apple if you really wanted to, because that is the power of contour. But let me just show you what I mean. I can actually just demo a bit of contouring, and you can see the kind of tools that I would use for this technique. Okay. So this looks wild. I'm so sorry. This looks so wild. I love this product. I can't screw this up anymore, but this is a sculpting stick. So this is technically a cream bronzer stick. This is the one from Makeup by Mario, which I did include in my recommendations. It comes with a little brush on the end, which is fantastic, beautiful, lovely, great. Let's say you don't have brushes, you don't have many tools. Let's just use our fingers to apply our contour. So we want to put the contour on the areas we want to recede. We don't want this on the center of our face or the areas where we want to kind of like protrude. With a more feminine face, and I'm using these terms very lightly because what's feminine, what's masculine, who knows? Usually soft, round features are associated with femininity. So we got to add angles. Let's add some angles. I'm literally doing like a 90-degree right angle here. Love that. If you kind of think of like a Halloween skull, honestly, think of what that looks like, and that's kind of where you'll be adding in your contour or your bronzing. I'm following my cheekbone here, and that's the good thing about using your fingers is you can literally feel your face structure and go along with it rather than trying to kind of like create a certain shape and hope that it lands. But you can feel your cheekbone, so follow that cheekbone. And usually you might stop here, but when we're doing a more masculine look, we actually want to bring it closer to the mouth, like so. And I like to use less product as I go further down towards my jaw, but you do want to kind of drag it downwards more than you would think. And what this does is we're cutting the cheek. If you have fuller cheeks like me, very round and youthful looking or whatever, this is going to cut that in half and create the illusion that you have a bonier structure. And then you can kind of just tap this out. With makeup, you can always add more, but it's going to be harder to fix it if you add way too much product, especially with something like bronzer or contour, because it's already a little bit darker than your skin. You can just kind of start minimal, and then if you're not satisfied with how much color you're getting, just go back in and kind of deepen what you've already done. So this is what that looks like blended out, but you can already see the difference on both sides. It's not a huge, like, this is not drag king style makeup. You could take it there if you really wanted to. But what I'm showing y'all right now is going to be more of like an everyday, you kind of just want to be a little bit more mask, but you do want to achieve that with your makeup. It doesn't have to be super dramatic. And the key to making it look like it is a part of your skin is blending. We should never see the harsh lines between where your skin and your bronzer or contour meet. So you want to blend by just going back over those areas and softening those lines. So there's already quite a bit of a difference here. I'm already looking like my cheekbone is protruding out only on this area. I do have a lot of cheek down here, but this contour line is helping to kind of conceal it and like push it back a little bit. And then you could also go under your jawline to really get that square angle. Depending on what kind of jaw you have, if you naturally have a rounder jaw, you might even want to go a little bit like above it and then really make that line and create that line. Me personally, my jaw is naturally a little bit more angular, so I'm literally just following what is already there. So you see how I'm sticking pretty close to my face still, but I'm just tracing my bone structure. Again, that's one of the great things about using your fingers. You can feel what you're doing. You can literally feel exactly where things need to be going. And then you can just kind of go over it a couple times. You don't have to press too hard. You don't want to just like wipe off what you did, but notice how sometimes I'm kind of sweeping, sometimes I'm tapping. When I tap, I can just be more precise with where that color goes. But if I'm sweeping, I'm gonna kind of push the product in the direction I want it. I'm not gonna just go in circles and it'll blow out and get out of control. So contour and none. What a difference. Especially once you start to add a little bit of contour to that nose bridge area and inner eye. Like right here. This area especially is really, really helpful to add a little bit of shadow, because with our eyebrows, drawing them lower makes it, kind of changes our facial structure. And then going under the brow with some of that contour adds even more depth. So it makes it look like our eyes are more sunken in than they actually are. And you can go over your entire eyelid if you really want, just to make it look more uniform. And if you're not really planning on doing eyeshadow, but you do want to add that depth there, you can go all over. Sometimes I'll just kind of go under my brow and then I'll leave some space on my eyelid if I want to add in some eye makeup. And you can also, you might be inclined to make your nose a little bit more narrow, because when we're doing like femme makeup, it's all about like, oh, everything is very like skinny, or I don't know what the logic is sometimes. With mask makeup though, do the opposite. Where the goal is not necessarily to beautify, it's almost to kind of make yourself look a little bit more rugged. And honestly, doing your nose contour, you can even do it in a way where it makes your nose look wider than it actually is. And I've seen some people, they'll kind of add in shapes so that their nose is like a little bit like uneven. You could really play around with it, right? Especially if you're doing cosplay or something, you can definitely practice and get to a point where you can do different nose shapes on yourself. It's all just about the placement. But the way I'm doing it, again, this is just like a natural kind of everyday mask makeup kind of deal. I'm not going for a specific character or anything. But yeah, the difference is very wild. And we want to aim to have everything very blended. We don't want to see harsh lines where our contour and foundation or bare skin meet each other, because that is a dead giveaway that you're wearing makeup if it's not blended. And then from afar, just adding some depth. How do you decide what color contour to get compared to your skin tone? That's a good question. Every brand usually, not all of them, every brand usually has at least 3 options, maybe light, medium, and dark. If you don't wear face makeup, if you've never gotten your foundation match at a store, I would look up just like skin, like brands will post, like swatch pictures of foundations, and they'll have multiple different models with different skin tones. They're usually categorized as like light, medium, tan, and deep. You can kind of look at yourself and try your best to decide, okay, where do I fall? Am I more light medium? I am light medium myself. If your skin tone is similar to mine, you would also be a light medium. And that way you can kind of figure it out. But every brand is different. Highly recommend that you look up swatches and reviews, or if you can try it out in person before you buy it, that's great. Like even just trying it on your hand, really blending it out and seeing if that matches the color of what you look like when you're more tan. That's a good guideline I like to give people. If we're doing a bronzer, something like this, if it looks orange on you, but your skin never looks orange, that's just the wrong undertone for you. If it kind of looks like let's say your arms are really like a lot tanner than your face, if it looks like it could match your arm, that means the undertone is right. If it's too light, you'll find it might look a little too gray on you. And if it's too dark, then no matter how much you blend, it just will look a little bit splotchy. So yeah, get some help at the store if you're able to. But if not, always use other people as references and kind of like do your research, because that's just going to be the best way. But I really like the color range from Makeup by Mario. I feel like they actually have a lot of great shades all across the spectrum. Another brand I like the e.l.f. Cosmetics, which it's going to be on the next slide after I show you the demo. They have a lot of shades, very affordable. So trial and error. I'm sorry, makeup's not easy. It's not one and done, and I don't have simple answers for everything, unfortunately. But if you can try it, that's going to be a lot more helpful. Okay, so let me do another easy way to contour or add some color to make yourself look more masculine. The upper lip. Your 5 o'clock shadow, baby. Yo, really get that in there. It is so subtle too, but it does do something. You could even add it on your chin part here too if you want. Just adding color where you don't normally have it. And if you're used to doing more femme makeup, wherever you normally highlight, try contouring it instead. Because sometimes I have to also fight the urge to just go along with what I normally do with a more like feminine makeup look. But when I'm going more masculine, you put the contour in areas you normally put highlight is usually how I like to approach that. And then for folks with glasses, do you recommend the same type of eye contouring if it's hidden beneath the frames? Yeah, why not? Because even if you have glasses, people will still kind of see your face from different angles. Or, when you look down, that's when your eye makeup will be most prevalent. So, yeah. I audibly gasped. It looks so good on the upper lip. And it's such a little tiny thing to do. Very, very minimal effort. Doesn't require any precision, literally just rubbing that on your top lip. And if you want to shape your nose a little bit more, you can kind of go underneath here in like a little V. That way it just brings your features forward more. But that's basically what you would do for a more masculine contour. I will finish the other side. And as I do that, let me know if you have any questions or if I missed anything. And honestly, I'll just keep doing it with my fingers. I feel like it's super easy and pretty quick. Everybody has fingers and access to that. So yeah. And let's say I saw somebody say they tried drag king makeup and failed. See, you can take whatever tips I'm giving you today and honestly just amp it up. If you want to do like super dramatic drag king like makeup, whether it's for like photos or maybe you have a performance, do everything the same, but add more products and also blend a little bit less, because when you're on stage and you're further away from people, having kind of harsh lines actually will make your makeup stand out a lot more. As someone with sensory ick with sticky faces, how do you handle makeup and wearing a mask? I only wear makeup on my eyeballs, my cheeks, and forehead. I hate the feeling of wearing a mask on top of a full face of makeup. And I will only ever do that if I'm not going to be wearing like an N95 that stays very close to my face, or if I will only have my mask on a little bit before I can take it off away from people and have my full face shown. So yeah, I powder helps because powder absorbs moisture and it won't make it feel so sticky. But what I have found personally, at least on my skin type, is that powder can kind of cake and just look nasty or kind of like come off in balls, because when you mix cream and powder, it's almost like clay. It's not meant to endure constant friction from wearing a mask. And then, okay, also being a sweaty person, there are actually makeup primers that help prevent sweat because they have antiperspirants in them. So One Size is a makeup brand that has a primer specifically for people who sweat. It's something you can use even just on its own if you're not going to be wearing any makeup at all. But I definitely recommend looking into that too. I like that you're doing it with your fingers, very accessible for those who can't afford or hold brushes. Yeah, I mean, makeup artists use our fingers all the time. It's a great tool. You just have to figure out how to use it. And I also want to say, I had years ago, probably, oh my God, almost 10 years ago by now, probably, I got like $1 face and eye brushes from Wet n Wild at the drugstore. I still have them. I still use them. You just have to take care of them. Brushes are an investment, and really, they're gonna last longer than any other thing you have in your makeup collection because they are meant to be used for years and years and years and years. Oh, the name of the primer it's from the brand One Size. I think it's called Secure the Sweat. You can go to your local Sephora and actually ask for a little sample of it too if you want to try it out before you purchase it. That's just probably one of the more popular ones, but there's definitely a lot of options out there. I just can't really speak to the other ones because I haven't tried them. But yes, that's the name of that primer. Any tips for somebody with thicker lips or more feminine shaped lips? Yes. So you can actually use a little bit of concealer or your foundation on like the outlines of your lips to make them appear smaller. You can do either like all the way around, or you could just do the upper lip because that much actually makes a pretty big difference. I can show you really quick with the concealer. I would use a concealer that's closest to your skin tone. Before this, I already put on foundation and everything, so I have base makeup on. And then I'm just gonna use a tiny, 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 like so tiny amounts of concealer. And then kind of just conceal and try to subdue this lip line. So if just doing the upper lip is not enough for you, you can also do the bottom if you really want. I just wouldn't put it all over because then it's like, okay, 2002 concealer lips, that's a different thing. But to kind of minimize the size of your lips, yeah. Although I never understood why people thought thinner lips is more masculine. I've seen men with some big luscious lips for no reason. I they don't even care, and they just have these humongous smackers for what's. And someone said, okay, does primer go all over your face? If you're using that sweat primer, I wouldn't recommend it all over. It's recommended to use a really tiny amount. You rub it in your fingers and you just kind of dab it in. So the areas I would focus mostly on are probably the forehead, hairline, and then like the upper lip. That's usually where people get the most sweaty. Because if you use it all over, it just doesn't spread as easily as a different kind of primer that's meant for that. For kissing, yes, exactly. Humongous schmackers for kissing. But, if that's what makes you feel good, if you feel like your lips are kind of a source of dysphoria for you, makeup can help with that. Makeup helps with a lot. Shout out to the men with long ass eyelashes that are poking them in the eyeballs. Yeah, and they don't even know what they got. Like they don't even care. That's the thing. It's infuriating. But I definitely have noticed my lashes have gotten so much longer on T. Now I can actually enjoy mascara as much as the next person. What's the best anti-sweat product to use? So products will work differently for everybody. Every single brand out there is going to be like, ours is the best. You just got to try it. You just got to try it. If it's an anti-sweat product, it's going to have aluminum in it because that is what stops sweat. That is the main ingredient in antiperspirants. But yeah, that primer, the Secure the Sweat primer from One Size, is a really, really popular option for a lot of people. And there's a lot of brands that are catered towards literally just helping with hyperhidrosis or sweats. I just haven't really tried a lot of them, so I can't tell you too much with those. I've been using an eyelash thingy from The Ordinary, and I think it's making my Asian eyelashes appear. Yes, I know the product you're talking about. It's the eyelash and brow serum from The Ordinary. If you're consistent with that, it works. It definitely works. You want to just keep in mind, though, once you stop using it, it's going to go back to normal because that's how products work. You got to be consistent, but you also have to keep using them. It's not that they don't work. It's just that these effects are going to be around as long as you are constantly using it, right? But yes, so here's the finished contour. If you want to bump it up, if you have a lighter concealer, you can kind of go in and reinforce the areas with contour. When you put a light color and a dark color next to each other, you're getting the most contrast. So that's what the lighter concealer would do. I'm not gonna do that now because honestly, I really like how it's looking. But if you're gonna do drag king makeup, if you want it to show up more in photos, if you're doing cosplay makeup, a lighter concealer, you basically apply it right next to the areas where you put the contour, but not on top of the contour, if that makes sense. But yes, any more contour questions, you can send me those now. But I think we're going to move to the next slide, which is just the products list of all the different things you can check out if you want to get your own contour or bronzer. So I already showed you that Makeup by Mario stick. I love the one from Milk Makeup as well. They have a contour stick, but they also have a bronzer. Bronzer, again, is warmer. It's going to make you look like you got a little bit of a tan and like more color in your skin. You would apply it in the same way that I did for this contour though. But again, if you only have a contour product and that's all you use, you might see that it's going to make your makeup look a little bit gray. So keep that in mind. The e.l.f. Halo Glow Contour Wand is great and very affordable. The LA Girl Pro Contour and Highlight Duo, again, is very affordable. And I like that it comes with a highlight as well. Juvia's Place, that is sold at Ulta, has a great range for bronzers for anybody who has deeper skin. And if you can't find any of these products, see if you have anything you can use. Eyeshadows can be used. It might just be a little bit harder to pick up an eyeshadow to use as a contour if you have a brush, because eyeshadows are smaller pans, but it's possible. With makeup, anything is possible. And normally I would go on top of what I just did with a powder contour, like the Kaleidos one I have on this slide. This is a palette that has a deeper contour, a lighter one, and even a highlight powder with it too. So you're saying makeup will make my parents love me? I'm not touching that one. Any recs for products or tips for not breaking out if you have acne prone skin? I definitely want to do another skincare workshop. So I heavily invite everybody to show up to that one too. So we could really talk about that. The main tip I would have really is just to make sure you're properly washing your face at the end of the day. Whether you're wearing makeup or not, if you're acne prone, and if you don't wash your face before you go to bed, if you wash your face in like 5 seconds, you're not really getting in there and you're not breaking down any stuff on the skin like excess oil, products, sunscreen, dust, and dirt that can be clogging your pores even more. So make sure you're really washing your face, but also don't dry it out. Don't just wash your face with a very stripping acne cleanser and then go to bed. You want to always replenish your skin with a moisturizer. Even if you have acne, when you wash your face, you're removing everything, right? Even the good stuff. There's good oils our skin produces on purpose to protect itself. But when you throw that off balance, you wash your face and you take it all off and you don't put it back on with your moisturizer, then it's gonna act weird. It's not gonna cooperate with you. So wash your face thoroughly at night at least, and always follow it up with a moisturizer. Sensitive skin besties. Okay, recommend sampling stuff and testing it on the skin for 24 hours. Yes, you can patch test, and this applies to either skincare or makeup. But if you have had reactions in the past, a little bit on the wrist, a little bit behind the neck, keep it on there for 24 hours. If you don't react, then you can try it on your face. And if you try something new on the face, but it immediately irritates and stings or burns, take it off right away with cold water, and then just use whatever like moisturizer you normally use that doesn't irritate your skin. All right, yes. Let's go to the next part. Now that we are contour pros, fun stuff. Yes, Han, you're very excited. I see you. So masculine makeup, masculine, feminine, whatever it is, these all mean different things to everybody. I don't believe we should rob ourselves of having fun in life, especially if we're already going to do something like play with makeup. Let's play with makeup, right? You can play around with colors and textures and shimmers and glitters, or even treating your face like it's a sketchbook page and just drawing little shapes on it. The world is your oyster. I'm not going to stop you. I'm going to encourage any weird thing you want to try out on your face. And on the next slide, I have some suggestions for how you can zhuzh up your makeup a little bit. You can add just pops of color. And I understand not everybody has the desire to do what I do and put on like 7 million colors and glitters all over my eyeballs. And that's fine, because to have a product be impactful, it just has to be there, first of all. But even just like a little pop. So putting an eyeliner, let's say like a shimmer color eyeliner, just on a certain area of your face. Like if I were to just put this really cool multi-chromatic eyeliner near my waterline, even if I don't do the whole shablam, everything, this is something someone will notice if they're talking to you, if you're close enough. When you kind of angle your head certain ways, they'll be like, ooh, what's that? Like you'll still see it. It doesn't have to be so in your face. It doesn't have to be huge. It just has to be there. So little additions like that are great. You can do pops of color. Let's say you already have a blush or you already have a lipstick. You can use those on other parts of your face. You can literally use your blush for your lipstick. You can use it maybe around the eye. I wouldn't go too close to the eye though, to add a little bit of like a flush, because naturally we have redness, we have color in our skin, right? It's not just one color. Somebody asked, what was that? What product did I just use? This is a multi-chromatic eyeliner from the brand Kaleidos. They also make the contour palette I showed y'all earlier. I love this brand. They're so freaking cool. And I really do recommend having at least one fun, colorful eyeliner if you do want to play with color, especially if it's a shimmer like this. It could just be used in so many different ways. Yes, Kaleidos is amazing. I freaking love them. Not sponsored, just love them. If you want to check out a more accessible, affordable option for something like this, I really love the Wet n Wild eyeliners that they came out with recently. These are like $8. They're so good. And again, like they are actually multi-chrome, kind of like duochrome. You can't see it that well in the camera, but this is my favorite color. It's the lightest one, and it actually stays really well. It's like a yellow, green, and blue shift. So you can do similar to what I just did and just do a little pop. You can use it to kind of doodle, even like draw a little star. Though again, you could really just get creative with it. That's the fun part of makeup. I think makeup is less fun when we convince ourselves that it has to be done a very specific way, or we like are too hard on ourselves when we're trying new things with makeup. Just keep it fun. When it starts to get stressful and not fun, that's a sign to take a step back maybe take off what you did that made you feel dysphoric or made you feel like bad about yourself. And then you can kind of revisit it later and kind of think, what about this makeup I did on myself did I not like? And then that can just help guide you in the next times you practice with your makeup. Wet and Wild's always good, yes. So yeah, no one has to do a full face of anything, but it's good to know the benefits of doing a full face and like actually using concealer or foundation. And full face, it doesn't have to mean a lot of makeup. Full face really just means you have makeup on your skin, eyes, sometimes lips as well, you know, some cheek with contour or blush as well. But it doesn't mean pack it on and it has to be visible from 25 miles away. Sometimes I feel like doing just my eyes looks bad. Let I would get more specific. Like, take pictures of when you do practice your makeup or when you do it so that you can really like analyze what you're doing. And maybe it's not the fact that you just have eye makeup on that you don't like. Maybe it's the way you do it. Maybe it's the shape that you went with or the color eyeliner you went with. Because I do just eye makeup a lot of the time and I won't put anything on my skin. I won't do foundation or concealer or contouring. If you have discoloration, if you have some redness or you have like dark spots on your skin, when you just do eye makeup and you don't cover those areas, sometimes it can just be distracting from it distracts your eye from seeing where you actually put product. Does that make sense? Like it's not bad to show your natural skin, but it can distract from your eye makeup if you have a lot of stuff going on outside of that. But I encourage you to keep playing around and definitely try doing your makeup before you shower. Okay, try this out. Next time before you shower, even if you only have 5 minutes to play around with makeup, I challenge you, I invite you to play around, do a little bit of eyeliner. Do something you might not normally do before you step outside the house because you're gonna go step in that shower. No one's gonna see that but you. But you get that valuable time to practice and really hone in on those skills. And there's no pressure for it to look perfect. There's no pressure for you to like it. There's no pressure for what other people might say about it because no one's gonna see it. So try that. Play around before you hop into your shower. I want to play around more with eyeliner, but I feel like my lashes are too thin to do on my upper lid without leaving a weird gap. Okay. Do you have tips for getting liner closer to the edge of the eye, or is that about getting into the waterline? Yeah, I know what you mean. Sometimes you can see a visible gap if you have eyelashes that are more sparse and there's like more room in between. If you do use a pencil eyeliner to get in between those lashes, that can make a big difference. You can try waterlining as well. So that's when you basically, like, if you were to kind of flip your eye up a little bit and you just apply the pencil under your lashes rather than on top. Sometimes it's hard to get really close to your lash line when you're just going on top with your liner. But yes, that is a great way to close that gap. And it could also help too if you're doing your makeup a certain way, if you have like a setup you like, if you angle your mirror differently, you can see more. If you're doing your makeup straightforward like this, you can't really see as much as if you were to angle the mirror all the way down here or even from the side sometimes. So play around with that. Don't just look straight on when doing your makeup. Like you really got to get a 360 view of it all so you don't miss any spots. My eyes are more narrow to each other, so I do eyeliner on the outer part to give them more balance. Yes, great little addition there. If you were to use black eyeliner, like for me, if I only use black eyeliner on the inner corner, it makes your eyes look closer. You know, it kind of pushes them inwards. Adding liner only on the outside extends the eye more. So like this person says, like if your eyes are closer together, that's what can help kind of balance out the appearance. And if you were to apply eyeliner on the top and the bottom and you go all the way around, then it just kind of like kind of shrinks them a little bit, although that works great if you have really big eyes. So try playing with the placement. You don't have to do a full line from the inner corner all the way out. You could even start from the half and go out past where your eye ends. You can really just modify your features. Just play around. Hooded eyes make that a nightmare. Oh, do I know that? Yeah, definitely want to go for waterproof products. I personally haven't found a waterproof eyeliner that has not smudged on me. So let me know if anyone else finds one, because that's like the one thing I have not found in the 15 years I've done makeup. Not one eyeliner that will stay in the waterline for me. Do you have fun tips, or do you have tips for fun eyeliner looks for hooded eyes? I tend to have to draw looks or use eyeshadow with my eyes open. Yes, that is a great tip, is if you have hooded eyes like me, where you can't really see this area when I look forward, okay? Like if your skin here is kind of draping over your eye, looking straight forward while doing your eye makeup is helpful, because you'll actually be placing your eyeshadow where it'll be visible. If you have hooded eyes and you're looking all the way down into your mirror and you only put your eyeshadow here, when you look forward, it's gone. So that's a great tip. And you can also focus more on doing eyeshadow under your eyeballs. If you don't have a lot of room on top, just go down below, like how I did earlier with adding just a little bit of liner there, because it's not gonna rub against my eyelid, right? As if versus if I put it on the top here, but it'll be way more visible. So go under. If you don't have much room up there, just go down there. This was so helpful. Thank you. Oh, you're so welcome. I feel a lot more confident about trying out makeup, and I feel excited to try out contouring for the first time. And you have to hop off. Well, thank you so much for showing up. I'm so glad you were able to learn something. Any recommendations for people with dry eyes? Okay, definitely incorporate an eye cream into your skincare routine day and night. If your eyes are dry, whether it's on the bottom or it's on the top, the skin around the eye area is very thin. It's the thinnest part of our face, which means it also struggles to hold on to moisture the most. When you use an eye cream, it's basically like an eye safe moisturizer. It prevents that moisture from leaving the skin. So put on some eye cream, just as much to where you feel like it's getting absorbed and it doesn't leave a lot of product on the surface of the skin before you do your makeup. If there's too much eye cream, it might smudge your makeup and kind of, break it down so it won't stay as long. Another thing you can look into is using eye patches. I don't have one to show you. If you've seen those like under eye patches, they're basically like tiny little face masks just for your eyes. You can put that on after you do your eye cream. And honestly, you could do a pretty generous layer. If you're going to just use a patch, you can seal that in. There are reusable eye patches that are perfect, because you can just put on whatever skincare you already have, and putting that patch on top prevents the moisture from leaving. So it just helps the product penetrate deeper. And then for eye makeup, you definitely want to go for more liquids and creams. If you just use eyeshadow powder and you have dry eyes, it might not work too well. It might, again, like on the rest of your face, right? If your skin is dry and you put dry makeup on top, it's going to be double the dryness. So there are cream eyeshadows that come in sticks. Those are great. Those are better for people with drier eyes. And there are actually eyeshadow primers, which is what you put on before you do eyeshadow, that have a little bit of hydration to them. I'm thinking of the Urban Decay eyeshadow primer. There is an anti-aging version of that is a little bit more moisturizing. So it preps your eyelid for eye makeup, but it also replenishes it and makes sure that it's not too dry before you begin. Try that. I tend to get a crease on my eyelid when wearing eyeshadow. Yeah, that can happen if we're not using an eyeshadow primer. So what I like to do, I will never wear eye makeup with no primer, because there is no points. My makeup will melt. It will smudge in like an hour. So if you're going to spend time and energy on your makeup, you want it to last. You want to use an eyeshadow primer. They come in a lot of different forms. I do like the Urban Decay one, like the one I just told you about. This is the original. It's a classic. If you want something more affordable, there's tons of options in drugstore that are gonna do the same thing pretty much. But you basically put on just enough product so that you get a nice even thin layer. Some of them dry down, some of them might not, and maybe they'll feel a little bit more waxy. Sometimes I'll use my translucent powder, and after I blend in my primer, I'll just use a tiny bit and then I'll set it very lightly. And that helps a lot with keeping your eyeshadow from creasing. Some eyeshadow formulations, though, they will just tend to crease more than others. So there's a couple factors there, but try an eye primer if you have it. How do I use the other color concealers like green and purple and yellow and peach? So those are for color correcting. If you, let's say we're trying to cover up like a 5 o'clock shadow, usually that shows up almost blue. When we color correct, we cancel out the blue with the opposite color on the color wheel, which is orange or peach. You would only use that peachy color corrector on the areas that are showing through as blue, but not on the whole face. And you don't use a lot, you just use a little bit that and really blend it in so that that blue is subdued. And then after that, you put on your foundation and concealer and the rest of your makeup. I honestly find that like unless it is very intense, the discoloration is very intense, most people can just get away with wearing a foundation that has medium to full coverage. But if you use a foundation and you still see some hyperpigmentation showing through, that's a sign that you can benefit from a color corrector. Let's see. As for affordable options, I love the Wet n Wild eyeshadow primer for oily lids. I don't know if I've tried that one yet, but Wet n Wild is coming a lot. It's coming up a lot in this chat. I think they need to start sponsoring these workshops at this point because we're about to make them a lot of money. But yes, Wet n Wild is honestly a great brand. Don't listen to people who think drugstore makeup is bad versus like more high-end, like prestige makeup. It's not true. A lot of makeup brands have the same manufacturers, but because they're marketed differently and branded differently, the prices differ because of that. Oh, actually, I have used that Wet n Wild Photo Focus eyeshadow primer a long time ago, but it's a classic. So now that we're talking about something to make your makeup last longer, I actually want to go to one of the last slides. I just have some product recommendations for like setting sprays and powders and stuff. Because again, if you're going to put so much energy and time into stuff, you might as well make sure it stays on the skin. So earlier, I talked about how, if you have dry skin, you want to use creams and liquids. Sometimes if you're very dry, your skin will literally suck the moisture out of the cream and liquid products you use, and it'll almost kind of set without powder. If you have oily skin or normal skin, you can still use creams and liquids, but you definitely should set them with the powder. Otherwise, they're more prone to slipping and sliding around, especially, throughout the day. We're talking, we're moving our face, maybe we're rubbing our nose. The powder should be the last step to really lock that in. And let's say you put on a powder and you're like, okay, now I look cakey. Especially with dry skin, this can happen. It can emphasize lines, maybe even bring out texture that wasn't there to begin with. And that's what a setting spray is good for. Setting spray will melt your powder in with your creams and liquids underneath, so you don't get that cakey look. But there are also setting sprays that are great for oily skin that will help to kind of melt it all together. But instead of leaving you looking glowy or oilier, it's gonna mattify and help to absorb oil or get rid of shine. I really like this one from Revolution. This is something you can get from Ulta and Target, I believe. But this is a great matte setting spray that sometimes I'll just use this on top of my sunscreen. And it'll help my sunscreen not move around so much throughout the day. And especially if you're thinking of like wearing your makeup all day long, or you have a special event, or it's really, really hot, you want to employ all of these. No matter what your skin type is, I think it'll be really helpful. I just remembered somebody was asking, how do I wear makeup with a mask on, right? So like I said, I personally only wear makeup on my eyes, cheeks, and forehead when I'm masking, when I'm out in public. But I would say that if you do want to wear full face or if you want to try it, definitely make sure to do these steps, especially powdering. If your makeup is wet, it is going to create that sticky, nasty feeling, especially as the humidity under your mask builds up throughout the day. It's very unpleasant. So make sure you set it real well. And I would set it to be more mattifying than normal. Because again, any moisture that's kind of coming through, it will feel uncomfortable and it's just gonna, it won't last as long if your makeup is literally like still wet, especially because the mask sits on your face and it's gonna sit very closely to your skin. But I have yet to figure out how to wear full face under my mask without looking absolutely wild when I take it off. So I just don't. I just I don't I have too much stress in my life to worry about that. But yes. Oh, my look is great right now. Oh, I wish I could see. I mean, if you want to show us on the camera, I love that. But it's okay if not. But yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up the workshop for today. On the last slide, it just goes over the agenda. We already did all that. We talked about the basics. We talked about eyebrows and contouring, extra fun stuff like adding color and shimmer, and also longevity for our makeup. Is there anything I failed to address? And even if you have questions about other stuff we didn't necessarily talk about, or maybe something you'd love to see me do in the future, the stage is yours. You can go in, just share that feedback, or you can also share it on the forum, the post-event survey. That's a great place for me to just know how I can improve with communicating with y'all, what kind of offerings you want to see, anything like that.
I just posted your contact information. That was at the last slide. Yeah, you can follow Jay at Tybrows on Instagram or TikTok. And if you're interested in booking a personalized virtual makeup lesson or skincare consultation, you can send an email over to tybrows@gmail.com to learn more.
Yes, I love working with y'all one-on-one because everyone is so different, right? I love to sit down and talk to people, get a feel for what kind of preferences they have, what kind of restrictions in terms of like sensory stuff or even budget. And I can help you figure out an entire routine, whether that be makeup or skincare. I just love teaching people. So it's so much fun to be able to help you with some personalized advice because the information here on this workshop, of course, is meant to reach as many people as possible, but we can practice together. You're very helpful. I can't wait for the skincare one. Yay. I'm so happy. I hope I see you there. Yay. And you've been helpful and have a lot of good accessible tips for makeup. That's my goal. That's my goal because I've had to figure out a lot of this stuff on my own, or I've had makeup clients in the past that I've worked with who just like struggle with things that are very common when you look at tutorials or if you ask people in makeup stores like to help you out. They'll tell you, oh, just do this, but not everyone can just do whatever, right? So I'm always willing to help you figure out what makes the most sense for you and what works for you. I do offer a sliding rate or sliding scale rates for both my skincare and makeup consultations, which just means you pay what you can. The form is available in the link in my bio if you were to follow me through Tybrows on Instagram or TikTok. But you can also reach out through email if you have more questions before you might want to submit a form and book with me. But I am so glad that y'all enjoyed. Definitely watch the recording back if you forgot anything we talked about or if you want to see the products again. It is always going to be available to you.
If folks are a little lazy on getting the link in bio, the link in bio is now in Zoom. So I got you, Jay.
Thank you so much. You're a genius.
I got you. Cool. Well, I feel like that's a perfect place to wrap it up. Thank you so much. So much, Jay, for your amazing work with this workshop. As always, thank you everybody for asking such amazing questions and being very engaging in the chat. Thank you for the humongous schmackers of the men who, you know, well upon and are jealous of sometimes. And Yeah, I'll wrap us up. But is there anything else, Jay, that you want to share about like the work that you do or things we talked about like, your consultations and things, but I want to give you a bit more space if there's anything else you want to share.
I think there's a lot of what you can learn about me. You'll find it on my page. I do a lot of things. I dabble in beauty. I do share COVID resources and videos about masking, mask reviews. I have resources for COVID-19 in that link in bio as well. And if that's something you haven't looked into yet, I highly encourage you to, because as trans people, especially if you're a trans person of color, we are most impacted by COVID as well as long COVID, which is the condition you can get after even just one infection. And, seeing the state of US healthcare right now and how vaccines are about to be made very difficult to get, I want to see y'all around. I want y'all to be well enough to, to still hang out and come to our workshops in the future. So I'm always open. If you have any questions, you can message me. I won't bite. I promise I won't bite. But yeah, take care of yourselves. Don't be too hard on yourself. It's just makeup. It's not that serious. But practice as much as you can. Practice makes progress. So you can do it. That's it.
Yes, thank you, Jay. From one masking person to another, bless the resources that we get to share with each other across like from top to bottom of California and also like across state lines too and beyond. So yeah, just thank you for everything.